Discovery and rescue. The desolate landscape of Proxima Centauri stretched out before Captain Alina Reyes as she piloted her small scout ship across its barren surface. The rust-colored rocks and swirling dust storms painted a bleak picture of a world ravaged by conflict. Earth's first interstellar colony had fallen silent months ago, and Rice's mission was to discover why. As she navigated through a particularly dense dust cloud, her sensors picked up an anomaly, a faint life sign, flickering like a dying ember. Rice's heart raced as she adjusted her course, following the signal to its source. The dust cleared, revealing the remains of what must have been the colony's main settlement. Twisted metal and shattered glass littered the ground, telling a story of violence and destruction. But amidst the ruins, a small figure caught Reyes's eye. Huddled in the shadow of a collapsed building was a child. Not a human child, but unmistakably a young alien. Its skin was a pale lavender, with iridescent patches that shimmered in the dim light of the red dwarf star. Large, almond-shaped eyes blinked up at Reyes as she approached, a mixture of fear and desperate hope evident in their depths. Reyes's training kicked in, overriding her shock at the unexpected discovery. She knelt down, moving slowly to avoid startling the alien child. "Hey there, little one," she said softly, her voice barely audible over the howling wind. "I'm not going to hurt you. Are you okay?" The child didn't respond verbally, but its eyes never left Reyes's face. As she got closer, Reyes could see the signs of malnutrition and exposure. How long had this poor creature been out here alone? Reaching into her pack, Reyes pulled out an emergency ration bar. She unwrapped it and held it out to the child. "Here, you must be hungry." For a moment, the alien hesitated. Then, with a swiftness that surprised Reyes, it snatched the bar and began to devour it. Reyes watched, her heart breaking at the sight of such desperate hunger. As the child ate, Reyes took stock of the situation. The colony was clearly lost. Whatever had happened here, there were no other survivors. But this child, how had it survived? And more importantly, what was she going to do with it now? The ethical implications were staggering. This was humanity's first contact with an alien species, and it came in the form of an orphaned, starving child. The diplomatic ramifications alone were enough to make Reyes's head spin. But as she watched the little alien lick the last crumbs from its fingers, she knew she couldn't leave it behind. "All right, kiddo," Reyes said, standing up and holding out her hand. "Let's get you somewhere safe." The child looked at her hand, then back up at her face. Slowly, it reached out and placed its small, three-fingered hand in Reyes's. The touch sent a shiver down her spine, cool and slightly rough, like fine sandpaper. Together, they made their way back to Reyes's scout ship. The alien child stumbled a few times, weak from hunger and exhaustion, but Reyes was there to steady it. As they approached the ship, the child's eyes widened in what Reyes could only interpret as awe. Once inside, Reyes set about making the alien comfortable. She created a nest of blankets in the co-pilot's seat and gave the child more food and water. As it ate, she ran a basic medical scan, relieved to find no immediate health concerns beyond malnutrition and mild dehydration. With the child settled, Reyes turned her attention to her communications array. She had to report this discovery, but she knew the moment she did, everything would change. For her, for the child, for all of humanity. Taking a deep breath, she opened a channel to her command ship. "This is Captain Alina Reyes reporting from the surface of Proxima Centauri. The colony is gone, destroyed, but I'd found a survivor." She paused, looking over at the alien child who was now watching her with those large, curious eyes. "An alien child. I'm bringing it aboard. We're going to need a new protocol for first contact." As she ended the transmission, Reyes knew she had just altered the course of human history. But looking at the small, vulnerable creature beside her, she couldn't bring herself to regret her decision. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she would face them. For now, her mission was clear: protect this child and uncover the mystery of what happened on this distant world. With a final check of her systems, Rise initiated the launch sequence. As her ship broke through the planet's atmosphere, leaving the desolation behind, she felt a small hand grip her arm. The alien child was pointing out the viewport, its eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and wonder as its homeworld grew smaller. "Don't worry, little one," Rise said softly. "We'll figure this out together." And with that promise, they soared into the star-studded blackness of space, embarking on a journey that would change the fate of two species forever. Building trust and understanding. The journey back to the command ship, the ESS Horizon, was filled with a mixture of anticipation and uncertainty. Captain Alina Reyes spent the time attempting to communicate with her young alien passenger, whom she had started calling Nova due to the starlight glimmer in its eyes. Nova seemed to understand that Reyes meant no harm, but verbal communication remained a challenge. Reyes tried simple words and gestures, pointing to objects and naming them. Nova watched intently, occasionally mimicking the sounds, but it was clear that their languages were vastly different. As they approached the horizon, Reyes's comm system crackled to life. "Captain Reyes, this is Admiral Chen. You're ordered to dock in the quarantine bay. A medical team will meet you there." Reyes acknowledged the order, then turned to Nova. "Okay, little one. Things might get a bit scary, but I promise I won't let anything bad happen to you." The docking procedure went smoothly, and as the airlock hissed open, Reyes saw a team in hazmat suits waiting. Nova shrunk back, clinging to Reyes's leg. "It's okay," Reyes soothed, picking up the child. "They're here to help." Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the ship's chief medical officer, stepped forward. Despite the bulky suit, her movements were gentle as she approached. "Hello there," she said softly to Nova. "I'm Dr. Tanaka. We're going to take good care of you." Over the next few hours, Nova underwent a battery of tests. Reyes stayed close, providing comfort and reassurance. The medical team marveled at Nova's physiology. The iridescent patches on its skin seemed to be photosynthetic, capable of absorbing energy from various light sources. Its respiratory system was highly efficient, adapted to the thin atmosphere of its homeworld. As the initial examinations concluded, Admiral Chen entered the quarantine area. His weathered face was a mask of professional curiosity, but Reyes could see the wonder in his eyes as he gazed at Nova. "Report, Captain," Chen said, his voice gruff but not unkind. Reyes straightened, unconsciously placing herself between Nova and the Admiral. "Sir, the colony on Proxima Centauri has been destroyed. I found no human survivors. Nova here was alone in the ruins. I couldn't leave it behind." Chen nodded slowly. "You made the right call, Reyes. This is unprecedented. We're in uncharted waters here." Dr. Tanaka joined them, her tablet displaying Nova's test results. Physically, the child is recovering well. The malnutrition is being addressed, and there are no signs of infectious diseases that could harm our crew. However, the psychological trauma of what it's been through, that's another matter entirely. "What about communication?" Chen asked. "We're making progress," Reyes replied. "Nova's learning quickly, but it'll take time to develop a common language." As if on cue, Nova tugged at Reyes's sleeve. "Ilana," it said carefully, pointing at her. Reyes couldn't help the smile that spread across her face. "That's right, Nova. I'm Elena." The Admiral's eyes widened slightly. "Well, I'll be damned," he muttered. "Keep working on it, Captain. This could be the key to understanding what happened down there." Over the next few weeks, Nova's progress was remarkable. Its grasp of English grew daily, and soon it was forming simple sentences. Reyes spent every moment she could with the child, teaching and learning in equal measure. They discovered that Nova's species, which it called the Lumina, had been a peaceful race focused on scientific advancement. They had welcomed the human colonists, eager to share knowledge. But something had gone terribly wrong. "Bad ones came," Nova explained one day, its voice trembling. "Not like you. They hurt everyone." "Lumina, Humans, all gone. Reyes held Nova close, her mind racing. An unknown hostile force had wiped out both the colonists and the Lumina. The implications were staggering. As Nova's language skills improved, so did the crew's understanding of Luminan culture and technology. The iridescent patches on Nova's skin weren't just for photosynthesis. They were also a form of communication, capable of complex light-based language. Dr. Tanaka worked tirelessly to develop an interface that could translate these light patterns into something humans could understand. The breakthrough came late one night when Nova, unable to sleep, began to speak in pulsing patterns of light. The translation device hummed to life, and suddenly the room was filled with Nova's thoughts and memories, images of a beautiful crystalline city, the warmth of a family unit, the terror of the attack that destroyed everything. Reyes watched in awe as Nova's history unfolded before her. The Lumina had been guardians of ancient knowledge, protectors of a power source beyond human comprehension. It was this power that had drawn the attackers, a ruthless, parasitic race known as the Void Eaters. As the last of the images faded, Nova turned to Reyes, its eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "They will come again," it said, both in English and in pulses of light. "For the heart of stars. We must stop them." Reyes nodded solemnly, understanding the weight of what she had just learned. This wasn't just about one child or one lost colony anymore. The fate of multiple species, perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested on her shoulders. She activated her comlink. "Admiral Chen, we need to talk." Nova's remembered something. And, "Sir, we might be on the brink of an interstellar war." As she ended the transmission, Reyes looked down at Nova, who was clutching her hand tightly. The child, no, the young ambassador of a nearly extinct race, gazed back with a mixture of fear and determination. "Together?" Nova asked, its voice small but resolute. Reyes squeezed the small hand in hers. "Together," she confirmed. "We're in this together, Nova. Whatever comes next, we'll face it as one." And as the horizon cruised through the vast expanse of space, its crew unaware of the monumental shift in their mission, Reyes and Nova stood side by side, a human and a Lumina united in their determination to protect all they held dear. The challenges ahead were immense, the odds stacked against them. But in that moment, with trust and understanding bridging the gap between their species, Reyes felt a flicker of hope. It was a small light in the face of a looming darkness, but it was enough. It had to be. Facing challenges together. The revelation of the Void Eaters' existence and the threat they posed sent shockwaves through the crew of the ESS Horizon. Admiral Chen called an emergency meeting of the ship's senior staff, with Captain Reyes and Nova at the center of attention. As Reyes recounted what they had learned, the faces around the table grew grim. The Void Eaters were a nomadic race that consumed the energy of entire planets, leaving devastation in their wake. The power source the Lumina protected, what Nova called the heart of stars, was their ultimate prize. If these Void Eaters get their hands on this power source, Chen mused, his brow furrowed, they could potentially wipe out entire solar systems. Dr. Tanaka leaned forward, her eyes bright with curiosity. "Nova, can you tell us more about this heart of stars? What exactly is it?" Nova's skin shimmered as it formulated its response, the translation device working to convert the light patterns into words. "It is life. Creation. The Lumina have guarded it for eons. It can build worlds, or destroy them." The weight of Nova's words hung heavy in the air. The responsibility they now faced was enormous, not just to Earth, but to countless civilizations across the galaxy. "We need to warn Earth," Chen declared, "and we need to find this power source before the Void Eaters do." Reyes nodded in agreement, but a nagging concern tugged at her. "Sir, with all due respect, how do we know Earth will handle this information responsibly? The temptation to use this power for our own gain might be too great." Chen's expression hardened. "Are you suggesting we withhold information, Captain?" No, sir, Rise replied carefully. I'm suggesting we be cautious about how much we reveal. We have a responsibility to Nova and the Lumina, as well as to Earth. The room erupted into heated debate. Some argued for full disclosure, others for complete secrecy. Nova watched the exchange with wide eyes, its skin pulsing with swirling patterns of concern and confusion. Finally, Nova's voice cut through the argument. Please, it said, its English still accented but clear. The heart of stars is not a weapon. It is balance, life and death, creation and destruction. In the wrong hands, it brings only pain. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to the small alien child, who suddenly seemed to carry the wisdom of ages. Chen sighed heavily. All right, we inform Earth of the threat, but keep the details of the power source vague. Our priority is finding and securing it before the Void Eaters return. With their course of action decided, the real work began. The horizon set a course for the coordinates Nova provided, deep in an uncharted sector of space. Along the way, they would need to prepare for potential confrontation with the Void Eaters. Rais threw herself into the preparations, working closely with Nova to understand Luminan technology and develop potential defenses against the Void Eaters. The rest of the crew, initially wary of the alien child, soon came to accept Nova as one of their own. Engineer Maria Santos took a particular interest in Nova's natural ability to manipulate light and energy. Together, they began developing a shield system that could potentially repel the Void Eater's energy-draining attacks. It's incredible, Santos marveled as she watched Nova demonstrate its abilities. The way you channel energy. If we could replicate that on a larger scale, we might stand a chance against these things. Nova's skin glowed with pride at the praise. Lumina and humans, it said, better together. But as they delved deeper into uncharted space, new challenges arose. Strange anomalies began to affect the ship's systems. Crew members reported unsettling dreams and inexplicable feelings of dread. Dr. Tanaka worked tirelessly to understand the psychological effects on the crew. It's as if we're approaching a boundary, she explained during one of their daily briefings. A place where the laws of physics as we understand them begin to break down. Nova nodded solemnly. The veil thins, it said. The heart of stars is near. As they pushed forward, the strain began to show. Tempers flared, and paranoia spread like a virus through the crew. Rise found herself constantly mediating disputes, all while trying to keep Nova safe from those who had begun to view the alien child with suspicion. One particularly tense evening, Rise found herself breaking up a heated argument between two crew members. As she sent them to cool off in their quarters, she noticed Nova watching from around a corner, its skin pulsing with anxiety. It's okay, Nova, Rais said, kneeling down to the child's level. Everyone's just a little on edge. Nova's large eyes blinked slowly. They fear what they don't understand, like the Void Eaters feared the Lumina. Rais felt a chill run down her spine at the comparison. We're not like them, Nova. We're better than that. Are you? Nova asked, its voice small but piercing. Humans have great capacity for love, Elena, but also for destruction. The words hit Rais like a physical blow. She opened her mouth to protest, but found she couldn't. Nova was right. Humanity's history was as much a tale of war and devastation as it was of progress and compassion. We're trying, Rais finally said. That's got to count for something, right? Nova's skin shimmered with a pattern Rais had come to recognize as affection. It counts for everything, Elena. Trying is what makes you human. As the days wore on, the challenges only intensified. The ship's systems became increasingly erratic, and the crew's mental state continued to deteriorate. But through it all, the bond between Rais and Nova grew stronger. They spent long hours in the ship's observatory, gazing out at the strange, twisted space-time around them. Nova taught Rais about the Lumina's understanding of the universe, concepts that made Earth's most advanced physics look like child's play. In return, Reyes shared stories of Earth, its diverse ecosystems, its myriad cultures, its triumphs and its failures. Nova listened with rapt attention, its skin pulsing with curiosity and wonder. "Your world sounds beautiful," Nova said one night, its voice tinged with longing. Do you think I could see it someday?" Reyes felt her heart clench. "Of course," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "When this is all over, I'll take you there myself." As they neared their destination, the attacks began. At first, they were subtle, strange shadows at the edge of vision, whispers in the dark corners of the ship. But soon, they escalated. Crew members began to report terrifying hallucinations. Some saw their worst fears made manifest, while others experienced tempting visions of power and glory. The Void Eaters were probing their minds, searching for weaknesses to exploit. Through it all, Nova remained a beacon of calm. Its presence seemed to soothe the worst of the psychic assaults, and its insights proved invaluable in understanding the enemy they faced. "They feed on fear and desire," Nova explained during one particularly harrowing attack. "We must remain centered, focused on what truly matters." Reyes nodded, gripping Nova's hand tightly as another wave of dread washed over her. "And what matters, Nova?" "Connection," Nova replied, its skin glowing warmly. "Love, the things that bind us together across species and space." As the horizon pushed deeper into the unknown, Reyes clung to those words. Whatever lay ahead, whatever horrors they might face, she knew that the bond she shared with Nova, and the unity of her crew, would be their greatest strength. The heart of stars awaited, and with it, a confrontation that would determine the fate of not just humanity, but countless species across the galaxy. Reyes only hoped they were ready for what was to come. Uncovering a greater threat, the ES horizon emerged from the swirling chaos of distorted space into a system unlike any they had ever encountered. At its center pulsed a star that defied classification, its light shifting through impossible colors. Orbiting this cosmic anomaly was a planet that seemed to flicker in and out of existence, as if it couldn't decide whether to be matter or energy. And there, suspended in space before this impossible world, was a structure that dwarfed the horizon. "By all that's holy," Admiral Chen breathed, staring at the main view screen in awe. "What is that thing?" Nova's skin rippled with complex patterns as it gazed at the massive construct. "The cradle," it said, its voice filled with reverence. "Built by the ancients to house and protect the heart of stars." As the horizon approached, the true scale of the cradle became apparent. It was a vast lattice of crystalline structures and pulsing energy fields, easily the size of Earth's moon. At its core, visible through gaps in the lattice, was a swirling vortex of pure, radiant power. "That's it," Reyes said softly, "the heart of stars." But their wonder was short-lived. Alarms blared throughout the ship as multiple contacts appeared on their sensors. A fleet of ships had emerged from the shadows of the impossible planet, their designs as alien and unsettling as the cradle itself. "Void Eaters," Nova whispered, its skin paling to a sickly hue. The enemy ships were nightmarish constructs of shadow and twisted metal, seeming to absorb the very light around them. As Reyes watched, tendrils of dark energy began to reach out from the ships, probing towards the cradle. "They're trying to breach the cradle's defenses," Engineer Santos reported, her fingers flying over her console. "And they're draining our power just by being near us." Admiral Chen's face was grim as he turned to Reyes and Nova. "We can't let them get to the heart of stars." "Options." Nova's eyes were closed, its skin pulsing with rapid, complex patterns. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "The cradle recognizes me as Lumina. I can activate its defenses. But I need to be closer." Reyes felt her heart drop. "You want us to take you out there? In the middle of a battle?" Nova's eyes opened, meeting Reyes's gaze with a mixture of determination and fear. "It's the only way." The heart of stars must be protected, no matter the cost. A tense silence fell over the bridge. Finally, Admiral Chen nodded. Do it. Santos, prep a shuttle. Rise. You're going with Nova. The rest of us will run interference. Keep those Void Eater ships off your back. As Reyes and Nova raced to the shuttle bay, the horizon erupted into a flurry of activity. Weapons were charged, shields were reinforced, and every available scrap of power was diverted to their defenses. In the confined space of the shuttle, Reyes felt the weight of their mission pressing down on her. She glanced at Nova, who sat with its eyes closed, skin shimmering with nervous energy. Hey, Reyes said softly, reaching out to take Nova's hand. We're going to make it through this. Together, remember. Nova's eyes opened, a faint smile touching its lips. Together, it agreed. As the shuttle launched into the chaotic space around the cradle, the battle erupted in earnest. The horizon engaged the Void Eater ships, its weapons seeming pitiful against the vast, shadow-wreathed enemy vessels. But what the human ship lacked in raw power, it made up for in determination and ingenuity. Santos's modifications, inspired by Nova's abilities, allowed the horizon to partially deflect the Void Eater's energy-draining attacks. It wasn't much, but it gave them a fighting chance. Reyes piloted the shuttle with all the skill at her disposal, weaving through the crossfire of impossible energies. Nova sat in the co-pilot's seat, its skin pulsing with light as it reached out to the cradle with its mind. As they neared the vast structure, a section of the crystalline lattice began to shift, opening a path for them. Reyes guided the shuttle into the heart of the cradle, surrounded by swirling energies that made her eyes water and her head spin. They landed on a platform that seemed to materialize beneath them, the shuttle systems flickering and dying as soon as they touched down. Reyes and Nova stepped out into an environment that defied comprehension. The heart of stars pulsed before them, a swirling maelstrom of creation and destruction. Reyes felt simultaneously drawn to it and terrified by it, her very atoms seeming to vibrate in its presence. Nova approached a console that rose from the platform, its hands hovering over controls that seemed to be made of pure light. As it worked, the cradle came alive around them. The crystalline lattice began to pulse with energy, and beams of purifying light lanced out to strike the Void Eater ships. But even as the tide of battle began to turn, Reyes noticed something wrong. Nova's movements were becoming sluggish, its skin losing its luster. Nova? Reyes called out, fear gripping her heart. What's happening? Nova turned to her, its eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and resolve. The cradle requires Illumina to fully activate, to channel the power of the heart of stars. I must become one with it. Reyes felt as if the floor had dropped out from under her. No, she said, shaking her head frantically. No, there has to be another way. I won't lose you. Nova reached out, taking Reyes's hand in its own. Oh, Elena, it said softly. You will never lose me. What you've given me, what humanity has shown me, will live on through the heart of stars, through all of creation. Tears streamed down Reyes's face as she realized the full weight of Nova's sacrifice. This child, who had already lost so much, was willing to give up its very existence to save not just humanity, but all life in the galaxy. I love you, Nova, Reyes choked out, pulling the child into a fierce embrace. Nova's skin glowed with warmth and affection. And I love you, Elena. All of you. Your species has such potential for greatness. Promise me you'll live up to it. Reyes nodded, unable to speak through her tears. She held Nova for a moment longer, then slowly, reluctantly, let go. Nova turned back to the console, its body beginning to glow with an inner light. As Reyes watched, Nova's form became increasingly translucent, merging with the energies of the heart of stars. The cradle pulsed with newfound power, and outside, the Void Eater fleet was engulfed in cleansing light. Their ships crumbled to dust, the threat they posed extinguished in an instant. But Reyes hardly noticed. Her eyes were fixed on the spot where Nova had stood, now occupied by a swirling vortex of starlight. And in that light, she could almost see a familiar face, smiling at her one last time before fading into the cosmic dance of creation. As the energy subsided and the cradle returned to its dormant state, Rice fell to her knees, overwhelmed by grief and awe. She had witnessed something beyond human comprehension, a sacrifice of cosmic proportions. And as the realization of what had transpired washed over her, Rice made a silent vow. Nova's sacrifice would not be in vain. Humanity would learn from this, would strive to be worthy of the second chance they had been given. The heart of stars pulsed gently, as if in agreement, and in its light, Rice saw the promise of a new dawn for all species, united in the face of cosmic wonders and terrors alike. Humanity's triumph and new beginnings. The return journey to Earth was a solemn affair. The crew of the ESS Horizon, once fractious and divided, now moved with a unity of purpose born from shared loss and triumph. They had faced an enemy beyond imagination and emerged victorious, but the cost had been high. As they approached the familiar blue marble of their homeworld, Admiral Chen called the senior staff to the bridge. His weathered face was etched with lines of fatigue, but his eyes burned with determination. "What we've experienced," he began, his voice carrying the weight of their journey, "what we've learned, it changes everything. We're no longer alone in the universe, and we're certainly not the most advanced species out there. But we've been given a chance, a responsibility, to be better." Ray stood at attention, her chest tight with emotion. In her hand, she clutched a small crystal that pulsed faintly with inner light, a final gift from Nova, a piece of the cradle itself. It was a reminder of what they had gained and what they had lost. As Earth grew larger in the view screen, the magnitude of their task became clear. How does one explain to an entire planet that the universe is vaster, more wondrous, and more terrifying than they had ever imagined? How does one prepare humanity for its new role as guardians of a cosmic legacy? The Horizon's return was met with a mixture of celebration and trepidation. News of their encounter with alien life, both benevolent and hostile, spread rapidly, causing a paradigm shift in human consciousness. The knowledge that they were not alone in the universe, that they had been saved by the sacrifice of an alien child, sparked a global revaluation of priorities and beliefs. In the months that followed, Rice found herself at the center of a whirlwind of debriefings, interviews, and strategy sessions. She spoke tirelessly of Nova, of the Lumina, and of the responsibility that had been placed on humanity's shoulders. Her words, tinged with both sorrow and hope, resonated with people around the world. Governments and scientific institutions scrambled to adapt to this new reality. The crystal Rice had brought back became the focus of intense study, its properties defying known physics and offering tantalizing glimpses of technologies beyond human imagination. But more than the technological advancements, it was the shift in human perspective that proved most profound. The petty conflicts that had once seemed so important faded in the face of cosmic truths. Nations that had been at odds for generations found common ground in the stars. A year after their return, Rice stood before the newly formed United Earth Council, representing not just her crew, but the legacy of Nova and the Lumina. The chamber was packed with leaders from every corner of the globe, their faces a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. "We stand at a crossroads," Rice began, her voice steady and clear. "The heart of stars is safe for now. But the universe is vast, and there may be other threats out there, other void eaters seeking to consume and destroy. We must be ready." She held up the crystal, its soft glow casting dancing shadows across the chamber. "But more than that, we must be worthy. Nova believed in us, in our potential for greatness. It's time we lived up to that belief." Rice outlined a vision of a united humanity, reaching out to the stars not in conquest, but in cooperation and discovery. She spoke of the need to advance their technology, to better understand the cosmic forces at play. But more than that, she emphasized the importance of advancing their consciousness, of embracing the interconnectedness of all life. The Lumina were not just guardians of the heart of stars, she explained. They were guardians of life itself, in all its forms. Now that mantle has passed to us, we must rise to the challenge. As Reyes spoke, she could almost feel Nova's presence, a warmth that filled her heart and steadied her resolve. The crystal in her hand pulsed in time with her words, as if lending weight to her vision. The council listened in rapt attention, and when Reyes finished speaking, the chamber erupted in applause. It was not just approval she heard in their ovation, but a collective commitment to a new path forward. In the years that followed, humanity underwent a transformation. United by their newfound purpose, they turned their efforts towards the stars. The first interstellar embassy was established, a beacon of hope and cooperation in a vast and sometimes hostile universe. Reyes, now Admiral Reyes, led the charge in many of these initiatives, but she never forgot the small alien child who had changed everything. In quiet moments, she would hold the crystal close, feeling the faint pulse of cosmic energy within. "We're trying, Nova," she would whisper to the stars. "We're becoming better, just like you believed we could." And somewhere, in the vast dance of creation that was the heart of stars, she liked to think that Nova was watching, its bright eyes filled with pride at what humanity had become. As Earth's first true starship prepared for launch, its mission to seek out new life and new civilizations, to bridge the gaps between species and foster cosmic harmony, Reyes stood in the control room, her heart full of hope and determination. The ship's name was emblazoned on its gleaming hull, Nova's Light. It was a testament to the alien child who had changed the course of human history, and a beacon of hope for the future. As the countdown began, Reyes closed her eyes, her hand instinctively reaching for the crystal she always wore around her neck. Its soft warmth pulsed in time with her heartbeat, a constant reminder of the responsibility and potential humanity now carried. T-10, 9, 8. The launch controller's voice echoed through the control room, each number bringing humanity closer to its new destiny. Reyes opened her eyes, gazing at the monitors showing the sleek ship poised for launch. Its design incorporated principles learned from the Lumina, blending human ingenuity with cosmic wisdom. It was faster, more efficient, and more harmonious with the fabric of space-time than anything humanity had built before. 7, 6, 5. She thought back to that moment in the cradle, when Nova had sacrificed itself to save not just humanity, but countless species across the galaxy. The grief of that loss had never fully faded, but it had been tempered by purpose, by the drive to ensure that sacrifice was not in vain. 4, 3, 2. Humanity had come so far in such a short time. The petty conflicts of the past seemed distant memories now, replaced by a shared vision of cosmic exploration and cooperation. They had made contact with other species, formed alliances, and begun to take their place in the galactic community. 1. Ignition. The engines of Nova's Light flared to life, a brilliant blue flame that seemed to bridge the gap between science and magic. As the ship rose majestically from its launch pad, Reyes felt a swell of emotion so powerful it brought tears to her eyes. "We did it, Nova," she whispered, her fingers curling around the crystal. "We're on our way." As Nova's Light accelerated towards the stars, Reyes turned to address the control room. Faces beamed with pride and excitement, a microcosm of the hope that now burned in hearts around the world. Today marks not just the launch of a ship, but the dawn of a new era for humanity. Reyes began, her voice carrying the weight of their shared journey. "We go forth not as conquerors, but as explorers and peacekeepers. We carry with us the wisdom of the Lumina, the memory of Nova, and the very best of what it means to be human." She paused, looking each person in the eye, seeing in them the same determination and wonder that had driven her own journey from that fateful day on Proxima Centauri. There will be challenges ahead. The universe is vast and full of wonders, but also dangers we can scarcely imagine. But we face those challenges united, not just as a species, but as part of a greater cosmic community. The crystal at her neck pulsed warmly, and for a moment, Reyes could almost see Nova's smile, could almost hear its voice urging them onward. "Remember why we're out there," she continued, her voice strong and clear. "To learn, to grow, to foster understanding between all forms of life, to be the guardians Nova believed we could be. This is humanity's triumph, yes, but it's also our greatest responsibility." As cheers erupted around her, Reyes turned back to the main screen, watching as Nova's light became a distant point of light among the stars. She felt a profound sense of both endings and beginnings, the end of humanity's isolation, the beginning of their cosmic journey. In that moment, Reyes knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever wonders or terrors the universe held in store, humanity would face them with courage, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to the principles Nova had taught them. A heart of stars pulsed in the depths of space, its power now a shared legacy of all sentient beings. And as Nova's light vanished into the cosmic dawn, Reyes felt a sense of peace wash over her. They were on the right path, guided by the light of a child who had bridged the gap between worlds and shown humanity its true potential. The story of Nova and the Lumina would be told for generations to come, a reminder of sacrifice, of hope, and of the incredible journey that had led humanity to the stars. But more than that, it would serve as a guiding light, a cosmic compass pointing the way to a future of unity, discovery, and boundless possibility. As Reyes left the control room that day, she carried with her the weight of their shared history and the hope of their shared future. The crystal at her neck pulsed one last time, a farewell and a promise all at once. "Thank you, Nova," she whispered to the stars. "We'll make you proud." And somewhere, in the vast cosmic dance of the heart of stars, a flicker of light pulsed in response, a silent acknowledgement, an eternal bond between species, and a promise of adventures yet to come.